Hey, this is the Nature Boy Ric Flair. And believe it or not, whether you like it or don't like it, learn to love it, because you have to listen to Wrestling is Real. It is the best thing going today. Woo!
Celebrating 9 years of podcast excellence, the King of Podcasts Radio Network proudly presents the Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.
Crown Jewel tonight basically had one story that we really got out of this, and it was something we already kind of confirmed when Logan Paul teamed up with The Miz at WrestleMania, and the same thing when Logan Paul faced The Miz at SummerSlam. It's apparent Logan Paul is the prototype by which a WWE main eventer is made. I'm going to explain that because that's the focus of the program tonight. The match that he had against Roman Reigns was really wonderful. It was a really well done main event match. I mean, when I look at matches we've had this year, it's one of the better matches Roman Reigns had with any opponent so far. And that's, that can be said. Some people are already saying that this is one of the best matches he had in his reign as champion in this title run, 800 plus days. I don't disagree. And when it comes to matches of the year on the WWE side, if you want to talk about it, on the match quality, I'm going to put this match in the same argument. I'm going to put in the same argument as Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. And I want to say that's the one that they had inside the steel cage. I want to say that match. And I also want to go and say that Gunther and Sheamus and their one-on-one at Clash of the Castle. Probably two or three of the best matches of the year. Pretty by far. And that's the men's side. Now I'm talking about the women. But see, when I've been asking myself for the last couple of months, once Triple H took control of that main roster and took control of where everything is on the main roster, that main event picture had to be taken care of. And by the way, there's something to be said about, where Karrion Kross is right now, who's going to be pushed towards that main event. With Bray Wyatt, who is also somewhere in that main event picture. Cody Rhodes when he comes back. Any litany of part-timers that can come back as well. But there's something to be said about how main eventers are portrayed and how they need to be portrayed in this company for them to get that status. Like tonight, I said it, Logan Paul has cracked the main event code. For all the other stars out there, the superstars in that company, for you to reach that certain level, you have to have a couple of things going on. You just can't be the ultimate best all-around star in the company. What has to happen is that your personality, your work rate, everything about you has to supersede everything else outside that ring. So what I'm saying is, the promos that are being cut, what's being done socially to make somebody viral outside of what they say in the ring, that's one. You have to have a pretty good, you don't even necessarily have to have the best work rate. We already know that. We talked about 5 moves of doom for years, and so has everybody else. With Logan Paul, he is showing us a lot of different moves. He definitely has that WWE style down pat. Do I think he would be somebody that would be like a New Japan star that would just be like, spot monkey kind of just going across? I don't know if it's so much that, but he fits this style of wrestling. He's sports entertaining. They still have to have sports entertainers. That's what he is. But the thing is with him is that he also circumvents sports entertainment outside of WWE. The reason he's even here is because of what he's done with boxing. Him and Jake Paul. And the fact that Jake Paul now is being intertwined into this as well. That's good news. That's good because Jake Paul and Logan Paul, they make a big difference on pay-per-view. They make a big difference doing boxing. Listen, they're getting people to talk about their matches, their fights, when they're not even sanctioned. They're exhibitions. They're not even title matches. Okay? When the boxing community, Tyson Fury might get a great match and might get some real play, but if you got Logan Paul or Jake Paul on a card, and Jake Paul against Anderson Silva, by the way, they got 1 million views, 1 million buys. That's what you're going to do. And those guys are getting constant viability because they have an audience to go with it. They have become entertainers, and they're mainstream entertainers. Listen, just because they came from YouTube doesn't make a difference. Now, as for the match, the build up to it, within the match with Roman Reigns, talking about we're going to get these YouTubers out of here. Roman Reigns playing the role perfectly. Roman Reigns is at his best right now. His jaw jacking, his talking, his, the bravado, all of it. It's perfect. The Bloodline storyline is fantastic. It's the best thing going in that company. It's the best thing going in most wrestling companies right now. What Logan Paul did tonight, I mean, that crowd in Saudi Arabia was cheering for Logan Paul. They made him the babyface. Now, the fact that this match happened in Saudi Arabia and they had this crowd the way it was, a proper traditional old school crowd that's not going to try to hijack the show. Like, you couldn't do this in Chicago or Philadelphia or New York. No. But I'll tell you what. I mean, even though Logan Paul is going to get booed and know he's going to get what he's going to get, but I'll tell you, he continues to keep showing up. He continues to keep proving himself. Now, in the match, he even said himself, and I was actually like, wow, this guy is something else. He got injured in the match. He put up a tweet on his, he put on Twitter, he put actually something where he says, it looks like he either suffered a torn meniscus, MCL, and potentially an ACL. Happened halfway through the match. So he had to ice his knee, and he's not going to fight right now. He's not going to fight for a while, but I'll tell you what, that's also because of his size. Like, I mean, he's tall, but he is also kind of lanky, and tall legs like that. And for what he had to do in the ring, no, we don't know where it was that he got hurt, but I'll tell you what, he's a trooper because he fought the whole match. He respects the wrestling business. Like, he is performing at a top caliber professional wrestler should, as one should. And I commend them for that. Listen, as a person, I feel like Logan Paul as a personality or just as a human being, I'm skeptical about him because I think one thing is I don't think he has complete control of his own format, his own platform, because he's too big now. He has to be managed. And anybody that thinks that he's still managing his own stuff right now, no. He's got too many deals going on. He's got too much going on for himself. He's kind of a puppet right now. He has his way of entertaining. He makes his money. He does whatever. But I can just say that with him, he had his issues where he was being criticized and he was getting, canceled out there. But when other people get canceled, he's not so much to go ahead and defend. Like, he's really looking out for number one. So, yeah, he's a bit selfish. Other than that, not much more. But when it comes to what he's been doing for wrestling, I respect what he's doing. He's doing the wrestling business right by what he's doing here, and it works. So I don't have a problem with that. The guy's got a large following. He did a lot of stuff out there. Listen, just for him doing work for WWE this week, I mean, he's out there. There's one picture he has out there where he's wearing the Saudi prince garb. He's wearing the headdress. He's wearing the turban. He's wearing the white suit. And he's wearing, traditional Saudi prince garb. He had that on in a picture. And he had the camera phone out for when he had that big move to hit Roman Reigns laid out on the announce table. He did that. It looked good. WWE put up there on their feed, 300,000 likes. And the match was 12 hours ago? Less than that? And also, I'm looking at it. It was also on Twitter. Almost 2 million views so far. So people are catching on with this. People are catching on. It's very cool. This guy did a lot and got people talking about him. KSI talked about him, and KSI has his own following out there of 8 million of his own, and they fought each other in this and that. So Logan Paul today, just on his feed the last couple of days, on everything he's been doing, that guy is a social media machine. Nobody has that kind of pull. Everything was going on. And by the way, him riding a camel in a press conference, he's doing all this shit. It is the thing where, it's full on entertainment and full on sports entertainment. This guy is, he's a headliner. He likes the stage. He loves being a camera hog. This is his thing. And it works. And you know what? For his own purposes, he got his Prime Hydrate drink out there. He's trying to get it promoted. Good for him. So he had a lot of purposes to be out here in the first place. And other than that, everything else is going on. That guy is just constantly pushing. And he's doing his job. He promoted, his brother's fight. He goes right in. And then right after that, November 3rd, he's out in Saudi Arabia, press conference. And for 3 days, that guy is a full machine, putting his whole power behind what the WWE is doing. And he did it. And the thing is, for other stars to be that main event level, to get to that point, they have to be able to go and have that larger than life aspect. Logan Paul has it. You have to create that outside of the gamut. And somehow Roman Reigns has that. Now, he's gotten some help, obviously. He's been able to do some movies and all this. And the likability of people outside of the mainstream really getting into what he's doing works too. I don't know if it resonates for ratings. That's the only thing I don't know. But also, this is an audience that, for Logan Paul, you're getting him in spats. You're not getting him there every week, all the time. Even with Roman Reigns, if you don't see him out there every single week, absence makes the heart grow fonder. It probably is better off that he's not out there every single night, because in that world of that WWE universe, you can't have those people out there all the time. Something about AEW where they do that pretty well, where I do like the fact that they're not showing certain stars every single week and wearing them out. Because I do feel like when I watched the rest of the card, it was a bit exhaustive. We've seen Judgment Day and OC. We've seen Bianca and Bayley with things. We've seen Asuka, Alexa, and Damage Control. You right? We've been seeing Drew McIntyre and Karrion Kross. Like, they're in that's in their method, that's in their modem, right? And they're doing what they're doing. The matches were fine tonight. Like, listen, the undercard was okay, but it felt like that. You had a very solid undercard of matches. And because this crown jewel, it didn't make much of a difference. Like, you didn't see anybody. I mean, look, did we have anybody lose? No. Like, everybody can retain titles. That was done. And really, it wasn't any shocking finishes here either. It was just, they did what they did, and they moved along storylines. They progressed. Now, the other thing too is that they didn't finish any feuds here either. They were just continuations, which is fine. They were some bigger matches they put out there. 6 minutes for Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar wins. Creative finish, I'll give it that. And Bobby Lashley gets his heat back, which, okay, we want to continue this feud. They just put it on the card because they had to put Brock Lesnar out there. Damage Control, well, actually, no. Damage Control did win back the women's tag team titles thanks to Nikki Cross. We need an explanation on that. Like, the whole flip-flop, I'm not big on that, but okay. They flip things back off. And let's see what happens now. We go to Raw on Monday and see what they go along with that. And see what Nikki Cross is going to be a part of with this. Drew McIntyre over Karrion Kross. So they're evening out their feud. Scarlett is an absolute necessity for Karrion Kross to get forward, but that's what they have to do with him because Karrion Kross is still very new to the audience, the main event audience, this main roster audience. They're going to have to keep pushing him like this, but I like to think that Karrion Kross is going to finally get his own wins and work his way through without having to necessarily have Scarlett in his side and always being able to go ahead and kind of sabotage any chance of another opponent winning. Judgment Day over the OC and Judgment Day getting the win is the right move. Rhea Ripley also involved in that. So you need to find out, okay, the OC needs to get a female partner in here to counteract Rhea Ripley. And maybe that's what they do at War Games, where they find Judgment Day and OC, and they'll find another female opponent to go along with the OC, and then make it something intergender. I don't know. But there's going to be something they could do there. Braun Strowman versus Omos. That match was fine. They didn't really, they didn't give it much time, and they didn't need to do much with it. But Braun Strowman, they just, wasn't so much of them having to go high work rate. They were just kind of doing a lot of bravado, a lot of, big guy versus big guy, kind of just, whatever. Usos are Brawling Brutes. They were going to have anybody losing. The Usos were not going to lose because they're setting them up for New Day. And they already set up the storyline where the Usos, trying to break a certain record for themselves on the longest reign of the titles. And the New Day is supposed to be in the way to stop it. So they got that story going for you. Okay. Bianca Belair over Bayley. And Bianca retains. That's fine. Another tough match for Bayley. And she continues to lose. So what do we do with Bayley here in this picture? Like, that's what I want to find out. Do they continue the feud here? And how do they do that? So are we finished now with Bayley here and Bianca continues on? And who the next opponent's going to be? We have to find that out on Monday. And they gave 24 minutes, almost 25 minutes for Logan Paul, Roman Reigns. You did have the Impulsive Crew come out, plunder. Jake Paul coming out, plunder. Usos coming out, plunder. Solo Sikoa coming out, plunder. But the match was really good. They set everything up right. And Logan Paul is the story. He is the main story that came out of the show. And I'm impressed by it. They did a damn good job. So you have to look at what comes from some of the variables that make Logan Paul that main event level, of which all these other stars need to try to figure out. If you want to see, like, there's stars that they already have a certain level, a certain plateau, and that's it. And I really feel like, maybe Seth Rollins could go another notch higher. Kevin Owens, I don't think so. Could I see the same with Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley? No. Brock Lesnar is at that level. He's always been for a long time because he resonates across other things. It's one thing to be said about excelling in other areas of sports. And I think that's one of the things you have to think about as well. So in retrospect, I don't know what you do right now. We see that Logan Paul represents the kind of main eventers they need to be able to build. Now, we know we're not going to get that. Now, here's the thing. This is where I thought the next in line thing would have been better off, because if you had certain stars that excelled in other sports and they make their way in here, then maybe there's a better chance that they will excel and become something bigger. Because multi-sports athletes and then somebody coming into wrestling, it works like that. Which is why I always think that, you look at some of the athletes we have right now that have made their way from other sports and they make their way here and stand out. I just don't know. But if a certain star is able to make themselves prominent in some other place and become viral outside of wrestling and will still stay in wrestling, then that's what has to happen. And that's one of those things that Vince tried to go ahead and control. Obviously, with that exclusivity, he didn't want certain people to go to other places. But when you look at the fact that Becky Lynch is able to go and put herself out there, and if she's able to go and do some more projects where she can be a little bit more prominent and people will recognize her as a mainstream star, Sasha Banks, some projects she gets might actually get her to take off a little bit bigger, then that contributes to her being a main eventer, or both of them. And that's what has to happen here. There's just certain stars they have to have some way of making themselves noticeable in other parts of the medium, in other media somewhere else. I don't know what that's going to be, but I feel like that's what you have to do. That you have to be able to do something that's going to be outside of that WWE bubble. Something that's going to get you on Sports Center regularly. Something that's going to get you on, whatever there might be, regularly on, different shows or different podcasts on a regular basis. Where John Cena fits like that. And it's those kind of things that need to happen in order for somebody to come across and really resonate. I don't know what you do then. But when you have those stars that are going to be the interest of other people outside of the normal specter, when you think about Ariel Helwani, you think about, if Joe Rogan wants to have somebody else, like which podcaster out there would a Logan Paul have somebody on? Would, that's the kind of thing you have to think about. But I think there's a lot to be learned from Logan Paul's experience here so far. Bad Bunny had quite a bit of a run because he did do good in here. And you know what? That guy's just too big for this company. But Logan Paul is not underneath this. He wants to be in this. He wants to go ahead and practice. He wants to be in here a lot more. That's good for him. And is there anybody right now that they have that, from the Next in Line program or anybody else, like is Gable Steveson, is that going to be somebody that will ever make it to that level? But they could, but they don't want to use him yet for whatever reason. And that's what I think has to encompass what a main eventer has to be. That they have other things going on outside of, like with Cody, he did the thing with his other company, with AEW. He had his own reality shows. He did hosting other shows, things like that. And that's what made them such main eventers, is that they circumvent through other forms of media to become popular. And they're larger than WWE, and they're larger than life. So you can't just do it within the universe. You can't just do it within Raw and SmackDown. It has to be something you get done that makes you viral outside of that. So the social media aspect has to be done. Or if it's content creation, or if it's, going the mainstream route and being able to be seen and noticed and heard, and people want to go ahead and talk about you and put you on their shows, maybe there's something there. But that's what has to be done to be that main event level. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. We'll come back Wednesday going into Thursday with another Wrestling is Real podcast. That's Crown Jewel. The show is good. It's a B+. Logan Paul, Roman Reigns was the highlight of the night. Excellent match. Logan Paul has solidified himself as the main eventer on this roster. But now he's going to have to take time off to get himself healed up. So we won't see him until next year. That's another problem they have to worry about. Too many main eventers or even anybody that's at that upper level continue to get injured. That doesn't help either. Oh well. We'll leave it there. Thanks for listening in from the Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.
Thank you for listening to the Wrestling is Real podcast. You can find all previous episodes at wrestlingisreal.com or subscribe to the show on all major podcast outlets, including Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Follow the King of Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at King of Podcasts, and search King of Podcasts on YouTube, or type youtube.com/JBRASCO951. This has been a presentation of the King of Podcasts Radio Network.